In this video, I'm going to break down the different steps to analyzing a local real estate market so you can understand how to look for investment opportunities and how to go about analyzing them to make sure they're a good fit for your portfolio. So the first thing we want to do is make sure we have our investment objectives figured out. So what is your goal? Is your goal to make short-term income, long-term income? Do you have your certain property types figured out? Like, are you investing in single family? Are you going to be investing in multifamily like duplexes, triplexes? Or are you going for bigger properties like apartment complexes? So you kind of got to have your investment criteria and your objectives, your goals figured out first before we can figure out what kind of data we need to actually look for when analyzing our local market. So for example, let's just assume that I've picked out single family homes and I'm looking at fixing and flipping them for short-term income so I can just make quick money and I'm not worried about rental properties in this instance. So we can break the market down into analyzing fix and flips as its own sector and then rental properties as its own category as well. So starting off with my objective of fixing and flipping houses, let's figure out a quick example of how I would go about analyzing my market for fix and flips. So to get started, I'm going to go ahead and focus locally. Now, if you live in an expensive area such as California, it might make sense to look into out-of-state properties like going over to the Midwest and investing in property that's in Ohio, Indiana, Michigan, Kentucky, where the prices are much cheaper than what you're going to see in California. So again, if you're doing rental properties, this could be a good strategy to buy out of state and analyze these out-of-state markets as opposed to analyzing your own local market. But in my case, let's just assume I already live in a good area where housing prices are somewhat affordable, and I can just go ahead and start with my local area. I don't need to be forced to look out of the area. I have plenty of investment opportunities within my local area. So to get started, what I'm going to do is I'm going to first reach out to a bunch of different realtors and ask for them to send me all kinds of different data on my local market. That way I can get perspective from multiple real estate agents to see what their current opinion of the market is, where they see it going in the next 12 to 18 months, so that I can get multiple perspectives to kind of help me make better decision making. And it's kind of a good trial run as these realtors are sending you information to kind of see which realtors really know what they're talking about, which ones seem to be driven to work with investors and aren't just blowing off investor clients. And this will help you work with picking one agent in the future that you can really focus in on and help find deals and send business your way. All right, so just a quick recap. Step one, define what your goals and objectives are. Figure out what strategy you're targeting. Step two, select your target market. Figure out which local housing market you want to focus on. And then step three, begin gathering data, which is where we start off with real estate agents. Now, in addition to real estate agents gathering data for you out of their MLS system that they have access to, you can also gather some data by going online doing Google searches. So you can start searching some national news media to see kind of what's going on nationally in the economy to get a better sense of where the economy might be headed. So understanding what employment rates are currently looking like in your local market, you can maybe find some local news that mention the unemployment rate or data on federal websites that have this information for you. You can also look to see what the average income in your area is. You also might be able to find some data on what the local rent market's doing. So looking up different rental websites like apartments.com, Zillow.com, you can start to type in different criteria of houses and get an idea of what the rental market's up to. So you can start to pull some data yourself by just going online, doing Google searches, and knowing what kind of data to be looking for. So again, looking at jobs, you want to make sure you're figuring out income and unemployment stats, and then also on the rental side, what rental rates are doing, while the real estate agent's going to be pulling you data like home prices. What have homes recently sold for in your area? What's the average sale price? How many days on market has the homes been sitting before they sell on average? You know, how many listings are out there? What's the current inventory levels in your market? And then they can look at trends also by looking at past data 3 months ago, 6 months ago, 12 months ago to give you an idea of how the data is moving over the last 12 months so you can kind of see where the market's trending currently. All right, so you've set your goals, you've set your objectives. This gave you an idea of what you're actually looking for so that you can go out there and begin looking for different data. You've picked your target real estate market and you've started gathering that data through a real estate agent and doing some self-research. So step number 4, begin evaluating neighborhoods using sales comps. So again, now if I'm doing the fix and flip strategy or if I'm buying a rental property and I want to make sure that I purchase the rental at the right price, either way, I'm going to evaluate target neighborhoods now to make sure I understand what those properties are worth on the resale side. So if I was going to sell them down the road, so especially in a fix and flip business where you're buying it, fixing it up, and then you want to know what it's going to be worth when you resell that property. So to get started picking some target neighborhoods for sales comps, I like to start with, again, understanding the data. What's the local housing market data saying? Which neighborhoods seem to be going up in value. When the real estate agent pulls you data, you can ask for him to pull zip code data or township data so you can see specific townships, how they're trending, specific zip codes, or you can keep it more broad and look at the overall city data from the different cities in your county. So again, at the county level, a county is made up of multiple cities. Inside of those cities, there's multiple townships, and then inside of those townships, there's multiple neighborhoods. So you can choose how specific you want to niche down and get real specifically targeted. Now on the neighborhood level, when you get real targeted, I like to go out and actually drive my local market and drive around different areas to figure out what areas I specifically feel comfortable investing in, which areas have nice neighborhoods that look like good neighborhoods that I could flip houses in, that would resell for a good price, and then I can watch those neighborhoods for any properties that come up for sale. And if they appear to be in a distressed condition, then they might make a good candidate as a flip project, since I know it's a good neighborhood overall where I could resell it at a pretty good price. So getting out there on the ground, doing some driving around, looking at different neighborhoods, this can help you pick out target neighborhoods within a township. So you can go back to the real estate agent and ask for specific data regarding that neighborhood, known as sales comps. So sales comps are just where they send you all the homes that have recently sold in that neighborhood in the last 6 to 12 months. You can span it back as far as you want. I like to get data for the last several years sometimes, just so I can see an entire history of the neighborhood and how things have gone over time. But I'll more specifically look at the recent 6 months because this is where we are today, so that I know where prices currently are today. Since we've been inflating, appreciating, home prices today are probably going to be substantially higher than the data is going to show from 3 or 5 years ago. So the data 3 or 5 years ago might not be very helpful to rely on. So again, specific neighborhood that I target in my area. After driving around, I get my real estate agent to send me that data so I can see what home prices are currently selling for. I can look at different metrics like how many beds, baths, square footage that property has, so I can see kind of an idea what kind of properties are in this neighborhood that I'm going to be targeting. So again, you're going to have your own criteria list, especially when you're buying rentals and flips. I like to stick to properties with at least 3 bedrooms. These tend to sell easier, being bigger with 3 bedrooms as opposed to a 2-bed or a 1-bed home. It seems like there's a bigger buyer demand for 3-bedroom or more homes. So this helps you get rid of these properties easier on the sell side, having more buyers that come look at these types of properties. So think about your criteria of what types of properties you want to purchase and why you're picking that criteria. Again, a lot of my criteria has to do with how easy it's going to be to sell that property in the future, so I don't get stuck with it or have to take a price cut to get rid of it. So at this point, we now know what the comps are in the neighborhood, having the data, so we can begin looking at these different neighborhoods to see what's currently for sale. So set up searches with your real estate agent, have them send you properties that come up for sale within these specific neighborhoods, so they can set different filters on their MLS system that will automatically alert you anytime a property comes for sale that meets your specific criteria, and part of that criteria being them drawing a little box around this neighborhood so it targets only this neighborhood and it filters out all the other homes that are coming for sale in your local area. Now, if you want to also set up a more broad search in your local area to target, a bigger, wider area, just in case there's other opportunities out there. Sometimes homes don't come up for sale that quickly in a specific neighborhood, so it could take a long time to find properties in specific neighborhoods. So you got to have patience and wait for those opportunities, or you have to broaden your search and watch the entire local city or the local township to see what other homes are coming for sale in other parts of town that could be opportunities to buy as investment properties as well. So at this point, you're kind of going to sit back, have properties sent to you. When they become properties of interest that look like they're at a decent purchase price, that you could make some money on them since you know the resale value, having known the comps, then it might make sense to actually go tour these properties. So again, contacting the real estate agent to set up a showing and going and actually looking at these properties so that you can further analyze them. Now, in future videos, we're going to go deep into how to actually analyze a real estate deal, but that's going to conclude today's video on the steps for doing some market research, starting off with setting your criteria and objectives so that you know what kind of data you need to actually go out and look for. Step 2, picking your target market. Step 3, begin gathering data. Step 4, get sales comps sent to you and more specific data. And then step 5, sit back and wait for these properties to come up for sale now that you have your target areas defined and you have a real estate agent working to bring these deals to you.